Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Board with Each Other, the board gaming podcast that reviews board games and asks the question, how well does this play with two players? Whether that be with your significant other, a BFF, or those dang colonizers who will not get off your island.
Hmm.
I'm Al Simpson, and today I'm joined by my lovely wife and co-host, Hannah Kelly.
What do you mean today? Like, do you do other episodes without me?
Shh, don't tell anybody. That's just me monologuing. Uh, so today we are talking about the cooperative settler battler Spirit Island. In Spirit Island, you take the role of a angry spirit, angry because colonizers are pitched up on the shores of your island, and your job is to destroy them, their towns, their cities, and instill fear into the populace until they leave. You accomplish this by spreading a presence throughout the land, which is represented by a sort of modular island board. You have a number of boards depending on the number of players that you play with. And on your turn, you start by gaining resources or cards or reclaiming cards in your discard pile. It's called the growth phase, and you basically, each spirit has a different number of growths they can select on each turn. After that, you place down powers, some of which are free, some of which you have to pay energy for. And the powers are split into fast and slow powers. Fast powers take effect almost sort of immediately, and then you have a settler phase. So the settler phase, the settlers explore the islands and new settlers appear. They build new settlements, towns and cities, or they ravage the land. So essentially they attack the lands that they are on. If they damage a land enough on a single turn, you get a blight token on that land. And if you already have a blight load token on said land, that blight token cascades to another adjacent land. So far, so pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
After that, your slow powers take effect, and then the game turn ends. The powers are focused on a number of different things. They either do damage directly to the settlers, or they will move them around, or they will defend the land. So they'll basically stop if you've got nothing else there. The damage will get absorbed, basically. Or they will move around or interact with the Dahan. The Dahan are the natives of the island, represented by little brown mushrooms, and they essentially are there to attack back the settlers on the ravage turn, provided the settlers do not kill them first. The settlers get to attack first. There are two decks of cards, minor powers and major powers. You gain these through your growth options. When you gain a minor power, you just take it into your hand. When you gain a major power, you have to forget a power, i.e. trash, basically a card that's in your hand or discard pile. Play continues until you have either wiped the explorers out, the settlers out, to the extent to which is dictated by the fear level. Whenever you do damage and that destroys towns and cities, you cause fear. If you cause enough fear, 8 fear for 2 players, you draw a fear card, of which there are 9. That fear card has some effects that take place on the next turn. For every 3, you go up a fear level. So fear level 1, you have to completely clear the board of everything. Fear level 2, you need to destroy all towns and cities. Fear level 3, you just need to destroy all cities. If you get to the bottom of the fear deck, you win. If you gain more than, I think it's a total of 15 blight with 2 players in the entirety of the game, you lose. And if the Explorer deck runs out, you lose.
Yeah, it's also worth mentioning that you start off with, I think, about 8 blight that you can place in the game.
It's 5 on a blight card.
Is it 5? Sorry.
Yeah, it's 5.
So 5, and you will place those. Once those have run out, you then get blighted island effects, which are additional bad things that happen during play.
There's basically 2 scenarios with the base game of what will happen when that happens. But the final 10 blights, it's a lot harder, basically. The island is split up into different biomes, basically. So jungle, wetlands, deserts, mountains. And that the Explorer deck indicates where on the board the Explorer's activities will happen, and that sort of cascades one to 3 as you go along. As you get further into the Explorer deck, you start to get multiples of those on a single card. So jungles and wetlands, for instance, or all coastal lands.
It's probably worth mentioning that first you will draw, say for example, you drew a mountain under the Explorer phase.
Yeah.
Once you've done that, it then moves up so that you know what order it's going to hit.
Yeah, so you know
like in 2 turns' time, it will be
A
mountains
ravage.
that get ravaged,
Yeah,
for
yeah. So
example.
you can kind of see it coming to a certain extent.
Yeah.
For a very, very complex game, that is basically it.
In a nutshell.
In a
Yeah.
nutshell, obviously a lot of the rules minutiae within the cards and the powers. One thing I haven't mentioned is all spirits have innate powers and special ability, as is often the way with sort of picking your character. But the innate powers, each power that you use has elements on there, and provided you meet the criteria of those elements on your turn, you can use as many of your innate powers as you have elements for. They don't get used up when you use them. It's just sort of thresholds that you have to meet. And as you get more powerful as the game goes on, as you place more presence onto the board, you'll get things like innate elements that you'll get automatically every turn. You take counters off your player board and put them on the board, and they reveal things underneath. You'll be able to play more cards per turn.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be able to get more energy at the start of your turn every turn. It's as you place more presence, as it were, on the island, your spirit's powers ramp up.
You can lose presence as well.
Yes.
And it is almost nigh on impossible to get that back.
Yeah.
And it's also almost nigh on impossible to get to harm back, although there are cards that allow you to do that.
Yeah. They're usually a finite resource.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you are present in a land that gets blighted, you lose a presence from that land. It doesn't go back to your board. It basically gets trashed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Running time.
I would say probably on average, I'd say about 90 minutes for two players.
Yep.
I'd say that's on average. That's if you get that far.
Yeah.
And don't completely wipe, which is the case we'll get on to quite often.
It's probably worth mentioning as well that you've got the base game, as it were, and then you also have scenarios with it.
Yeah, so it's got a difficulty system within it where you can ramp up the difficulty, but it also has things like scenarios and particular nations you can face,
Mm-hmm.
and they have their own special rules and basically a lot more difficult than the base game, but it ramps up in difficulty quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, I heard a huge amount about Spirit Island over the years, and it looked like our cup of tea. Really sort of meaty cooperative experience, very very heavy on rules, the kind of thing that I tend to enjoy.
I feel like this is probably one of the most heavy games, board game geek rating wise, that we
Yeah,
have.
it's above 4, which is
Yeah.
quite a rarity.
Yeah.
It's rated very very highly on the sort of the rules heaviness scale, which I don't actually agree with, but we'll get on to the reasons why. I think the rules are fairly simple. We've got a whole category for that,
There's a
so
whole category for
we'll save
rules.
we'll save that
save it for that.
conversation for that. But yeah, so I've heard so much about it, so decided to pick it up and give it a go.
Okay. So, on that note, shall we crack on with scoring?
Yes, let's.
So, under our first category, we have components. So, that includes board space, setup, and the actual things that come in the box.
Indeed.
So, one of the things I'm going to say is if you look at the box and if you look at the colours, it's really bright, vibrant, and playful. And actually, the theme is not very bright, vibrant, or playful.
No,
It's this real dichotomy.
there's a real weird cartooniness to a game that seems to be about death and destruction. I tend to find there's a disconnect with our card art, which is actually quite gritty, and the general presentation, which is a bit like, oh, cute spirits. I'm just like, what?
Yeah, they're not cute spirits. They're going to fuck your shit up, man.
I think there's a lack of cohesion to the style of this, which I find quite eyebrow raising. And I'm not quite sure whether there was a concept before that then took a real turn and development to something, but it does stick out a little bit. It really doesn't match.
The front of the box does not look like what the meat of the box is about.
No, the front of the craft looks like you're about to crack out like Flamecraft or something like that about cutesy dragons. It doesn't gel.
That's what I really like. The front of the box. It's really pretty.
Yeah, I actually prefer the cartoony art style stuff to the more gritty art style, which I find a bit. Yeah.
But that aside,
Uh-huh.
I think the components are pretty good. So you've got these cute little Dahan creatures.
The mushroom men.
And I would say that all the components that you get in the box are all quite distinct and unique. You're never
They
going
are.
to confuse the two of them or confuse any of the parts together. So that gives it a big tick in my box.
I have to ironically laugh at the amount of plastic in a game about,
Yes.
nature reclaiming the land.
Yep.
All of the explorers, the towns and the cities are very small plastic minis, basically.
They are quite cheap and flimsy though. But then, I mean, I don't
Do you
think
like
so.
Monopoly houses and hotels? Because then
Yes,
you
that's what. That's it.
that's kind of what you're looking at.
But then you've also got these fear tokens, which are quite big, and again, cardboard and purple,
Mm.
which again thematically. And then you've got these really weird small grey blight tokens that don't really represent anything aside from perhaps maybe a splodge of mud.
Yeah, I have to say, it looks a bit of a mess on the
Yeah,
table. Like it's not. It just doesn't feel cohesive with the artistic vision of it, and in the use of components, you've got mixed materials, as you say. It all feels a little bit disconnected and
yeah.
discombobulated.
They are all
Um,
very unique looking.
they are unique looking, yeah, yeah, but I'm not sold on the way it looks.
Yeah.
I think it looks quite ugly and messy when you play it.
Hmm.
It's not a pretty game.
That said, the card art, though, I know you said that you prefer the cartoony stuff to
Yeah,
the actual art on the cards, but I think the cards are really quite. They're well designed. I
yeah,
quite
yeah.
like
No,
the
they
art
are.
on
I'm
them.
not. Yeah, I don't hate them. I just, yeah,
Hmm.
I think one cohesive theme would have been better.
Hmm. You've also got map pieces, and you have to combine two, or is it a
Yeah,
number of people?
yeah. It depends on the number of people. So you have an island board for each player,
Yeah.
basically.
They sort of all slot together, and then you have another board as well, which keeps track of all your cards, your explorer cards, your fear,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. Um, it's not a massive table hog.
No, it's not. It's actually considering the density of the game,
Yeah,
it's quite compact.
yeah,
Yeah, no, you can play this on a reasonably small area
yeah.
with two people anyway. Obviously, with more people, you'd
I
like to
think
use
even
the
with four people,
yeah, you can
it's
still
not going to
yeah.
be absolutely massive. I mean, we do play it on a big table, but
Yeah,
I
no,
don't think we have to.
it's definitely smaller than games of this
Yeah.
ilk usually are. I have to say. Okay, setup and teardown. I mean, it's a
Mhm.
complex co-op, so setup is a bit of a finicky experience.
What's really irritating, and it's a small bugbear of mine,
Mm,
is that on your player mat, you have to look at the back of it to know how to set it up. And 9 times out of 10, I will then lay all my presence tokens on my board and then go, why have I got extra presents? I have to take them all off and then put them back.
yeah,
Which is, I mean, it's a really small, picky
it is a small thing,
point.
but it annoys me as well. I've
Yeah,
also had to do that. You've got to unpack everything, turn it over just to look at it. Like I feel like setup instructions should have been on the playing side,
yeah.
just because you probably need to refer back to them when you know actually setting up the game after you've selected your spirit. Worth mentioning as well that some of the text on the player on the spirits is tiny, like really tiny. So if you do have any sort of sight problems or anything like that, you might struggle there.
Hmm.
Very, very small, not
Well lit
easy to read.
room.
Yeah. The teardown is pretty much the same as setup. Not too bad, not too onerous.
Yeah.
All right. So what did you give it?
So I gave it a 7.
I gave it 6.
Yeah, I think the theme is probably my main bugbear with the game, but I don't have that much of an issue with it.
My biggest issue is just that it looks quite messy and ugly
Mm.
when you're playing it.
Okay.
All right.
And so then on to complexity. Okay, and as always, well, you can say it.
Okay, so as always, this is not how complex the game is. We don't give higher scores for more complex games and vice versa. This is how well the complexity and design of the game serves the gameplay. Do you want to start?
Okay. So I think there are some real highs in here for me, and there
Yeah,
are also some real lows.
sure.
Shall we talk about the highs first?
Okay, let's go with the highs first.
So, presence is a really integral part of the game.
Hmm.
There are a lot of cards that will only play where you have presence or within a particular range of presence, and you get a single presence and a double presence,
Yeah, which is called a seat of power if
a
you've
seat
got
of power.
two presence on one land.
Yeah. And so because it's such an integral part of the game, there's this real push-pull dynamic about where do you place your presence,
Hmm.
and what sort of because whenever you play a presence, you take it off your player mat,
Yeah.
and you will get either additional energy or you will get to play additional cards or something. And so there's a real push-pull dynamic about working out where to place them. I really like how tight that is,
Yeah.
and how that's a really um, yeah, it just it feels really really good.
Yeah, it's a really sound part of the
Yeah,
game. I would agree. Yeah, that's that choosing where to spread yourself to and how quickly you
yeah.
want to advance is integral to it, and it's a really interesting mechanic.
And I think depending on who you're playing as well, it depends whether you want to spread yourself quite thin to begin
Yeah,
with, or whether you want to concentrate in one particular area
yeah.
and leave your other player to kind of pick up their side of the board.
Mhm.
So I think that's really good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, I also think the deck building element is well, there are highs and lows to that.
Mm.
So you do have to craft a deck, and actually, when you get to draw cards from either minor or major power, you get to draw 4. So you do get a good pick
Yes, you do.
of you draw 4, pick
Yeah,
1.
yeah.
So you do get a good range of cards,
Hmm.
and quite early on, it becomes easy to build up your hand quite early on by getting minor powers.
Yes.
When you get a major power, you have to discard a
Hmm.
card. So there is that deck thinning aspect to it. So you don't want to go too quick and too heavy with your major powers because one, you won't be able to afford to play them, and
Yeah.
B, your deck is just too small.
That's what I was going to say. With the major powers, a lot of them are very expensive, and you just simply will not have the energy early on in the game to be able to use them. So you can't sort of rush into them.
Yeah. So that's a nice way of being able to balance it out.
Mm.
However, despite the fact that you get to draw 4 cards,
Yeah,
too often I find myself drawing a handful of cards that don't work well or interact well
with
with
your spirit.
my spirit. And this is one of the problems that I have, particularly with innate powers,
Hmm.
because innate powers you have to have a number of symbols. I don't know how else
Yeah,
just
they're elements.
elements. That's
Every
it.
power has a number of elements on the left-hand side of the
Yeah,
card.
and so you'll need 2 of one element, and
Mm.
then 1 of one, and then 1 of another one. And so there becomes this real push pull between, well, do you pick a card because you want the power in it? Or do you pick a card because you want to foster the ability to play your innate powers?
Yeah,
And that becomes a real bugbear for me because actually I find that too often than not, I pick a card because my innate abilities and actually necessarily work all that well for my playstyle.
hmm,
Or then conversely, I end up picking cards that work with my playstyle or the particular problem that you've got on the board, and then I lose the ability to use my innate powers.
yeah.
And so, you will talk about, is it one rule too many? And I kind of wonder whether that whole innate power thing is just one rule too many.
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, I'm being quieter than normal because I think there's a lot of threads that you're pulling on that I'm going to go into in the next category for
Okay.
me. So I'm not going to talk to them. I'm not going to talk to them too much in this one. Fully agreed with everything that you said. Is it a rule too far? I don't know, and I think this is a general overarching thing for me with this. I don't think the rules are the problem. I think the rules and the mechanics as written are fine. I have other issues, which I'll get into in a bit.
Mhm.
As far as a rule set goes, I think it's actually quite simple. I don't think I was surprised at how heavily this is rated. Um, it requires a lot of thinking and a lot of planning, but as a rule set, is it overly
But isn't that what
complex?
complexity is, though? Isn't
Mm,
complexity about, it's not just about rules and how many there are or how difficult they are to get your head round.
mm.
It's about how deep does the game go, how much
Yeah,
strategy and
perhaps.
how much options you get around it. And I think, and I think you struggle with this
Mm,
because of the complexity. Because the other thing that I really like about this is that it's kind of like playing 3D chess
yeah,
because you're constantly thinking 2, 3 turns
yeah,
ahead
yeah.
and you're trying to set the board up.
Mm.
And I think that's the complexity and that's why it's rated so heavily.
Yeah, but the thing is that doesn't really pan out with board game geek ratings. Like chess would be rated 1.
Oh, well,
That's the thing. I think that's kind of my point.
okay.
Yes, I agree with everything you've said. I think just from like the way games are rated around complexity, it tends to be about the rule set,
Okay.
and I
That's
don't.
not what I'm rating here.
Yeah, that's fine. I
I'm not board game geek.
No, you're not. No, we're not. That's not exactly what we rate
Yeah.
here. But I think what I'm saying is I was taken aback by how simple the rules were. I was expecting like pages upon pages of minutiae, just from the reputation it had, and that's not what I got. And I think that's the point I'm trying to make. So, from the rule set perspective, I think the rules are absolutely fine. I actually think it's a reasonably easy teach. I think, I do. I do. I don't think it's as bad as like. I think something like brass is way more difficult to teach than this.
I'm going to think about that for a minute.
Okay, you think about that for a minute. I, I, I think there's a lot of games that we play that are more difficult to teach somebody than this. I think this, as far as how the game works and the core rules, the core mechanics, are really not that bad. Um,
Turns are long, turns are convoluted. There are many phases in it. Like you start off with you, and then it goes to the
Yeah, that
there's a
that was one thing I was about. That
okay.
was
So
I was going to get on to. Where I think perhaps it goes a little bit too far is around the phasing.
hmm
So turns are these multi-phased back and forth between you and the invaders, and this happens and that happens. It's very, very convoluted the way a turn flows through. It's not sort of you go, then the bad guys go, you go, then the bad. It's that slow and fast powers, and the enemy turn in the middle really throws me for a loop when I'm trying
yeah.
to strategize. Like, I find that really difficult as a concept to keep in my head all the time. I understand it, but I forget it when I'm in the midst of trying to think things through.
hmm
So I'll often play a power. It's like, oh, because I thought, oh, I've got this sorted out. Oh, no, it's a slow power. No, I
hmm
haven't. I've ruined it.
And yet, that's one of the things that I really like
Mm,
about it. I like the fact that you do your thing there and then you start doing board setup later.
mm,
And I do like that. I do struggle to get my head around it, and I think
yeah.
quite often you're fighting fires, so it kind of gets waylaid. But I like that it has that opportunity or that
Hmm.
ability to be able to do that.
Yep. I think my issue with this, and this is a me issue,
hmm
is I think it's got an ocean of depth, but not very much width. So it's very, very deep in the way you have to think about the tactics and how what you're doing and the strategy, etc. But you don't have a lot of wiggle room, and it's very difficult to pivot if you get anything wrong. If you take a step out of line, it feels very much that there is an optimum way to play, and if you deviate from that optimum way to play, you're going to lose.
Is there an optimum way to play?
Yeah,
Like, is there?
I think so. And I think that it's different for each spirit, but I think it's one of those things where you essentially solve it and you know how to play your spirit. And then it gets boring and then you go up in a difficulty. I don't think there's a lot of depth, but there's not a lot of lateral sort of. I find it hard to describe, but I always feel like there's not enough options. You're either doing the right thing or you are not. And from a complexity standpoint, that's not the complexity I gel too well with.
hmm
I prefer having a wider open decision space. As opposed to just feeling like I'm doing it wrong, which is how I feel a lot of the time when I'm playing it. Um, is that complexity? Yeah, probably. That's what you're talking about, a sort of strategic depth. It's got a huge amount of strategic depth, but I don't know if it's the right sort of strategic depth that I gel with.
hmm
Um, but it makes it a hard one to score. This one, it
Yeah,
really does, because how well does the complexity serve the game? Wonderfully, if that's your thing. I think is my perspective on it. Is it your thing? Is it not? That's gonna alter your mileage really. For me, I've tried to be objective as possible, and given how the rules are fairly well designed and streamlined, and there's that huge amount of depth there, I've given it a 7.
so I gave it a 6.
Okay, I'm very interested that you gave it higher than me, but I was trying very hard to get certain personal things out of this
Mm.
bucket.
The reason I think I gave it a 6 was um again, it's about the deck building element to it,
Uh,
which I find quite frustrating
yeah,
because I never feel that it's as powerful as it should be, and it's always at a trade off of something else,
Mm.
and that I think is that about complexity?
Yeah. You see, it's not for me, which is why I'm keeping quiet.
Yeah, no, but I do think it is because I think it's because of that issue between your powers and your innate powers.
Mm.
Um, I also think, and I haven't talked about this yet, there's something as well about range and about cards and the amount of times that I've made mistakes, I'm pretty sure you've made mistakes as
Yeah.
well, is because there is often a huge amount of detail on those power cards that you pick up.
Mm.
And quite often I will end up misplaying them just because there is so much. And that's maybe that is an issue with me and it's a rules issue, but also when the game is as
Yeah.
complex as it
Mm.
is, I think it's just a little bit too much.
Yeah, it's the seat of power one that always
Yeah,
gets me because it's not immediately visually obvious without really looking
but
that
also
it
target
requires a seat of
lands.
power. Yeah.
But also, there's ones that require specific target land, like the target land must be mountains or jungles, and
Yeah.
that's fine. But target land has to be Dahan, or target land has to have blight, or
Yeah.
something like that, and that's easily missed. And I just think that's one level of detail that maybe just it pushes it a
A
little bit
little
too
bit too
far for
far for
me.
you. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, that's fine. That's valid.
Yeah, so I gave it a 6.
Okay. All right.
All right, and then on to shelf life. So on the
Hmm.
shelf life, we talk about things like value for money, but also replayability. So as always, what's the price point?
65 to 70.
Okay.
I think it's definitely on the expensive side.
How much is brass?
About 50,
Mm. How much was The Witcher?
65.
Okay. I don't think that's unreasonable.
I don't think it's unreasonable, but I do think it's pushing it a little bit.
Mm.
It's definitely on the expensive side for what you get on the box, in my opinion. I've seen a lot more for less.
I would say if it had a more coherent theme,
Mm.
regardless of how you feel about it, you probably wouldn't bat an eyelid.
I don't know. I think I still would.
Really?
Yeah, I think I still would. There, there's a lot in the box, but it's not insane amounts in the box, and it's not particularly deluxe in any way. I think the only exception would be the Dahan, which feel really nice, almost like
Mm.
polished, varnished wood. But a lot of it is cardboard and all these little plastic sort of shits for, it doesn't feel that's price point for me. It really
Okay.
doesn't. It does feel a little bit over.
Okay.
50 to 60 range I'll probably be all right with, but
I think
it's just
60 I'd be quite happy
yeah.
with.
Yeah, I do think it's a little bit on the expensive side, I have to say. Probably a moot point now that I think they've sort of got out of business and stopped printing it. But yeah, definitely on the high side.
Okay. So let's talk about replayability.
I think this is a hard one for me to answer. That'll become apparent in the next category. I think that if you liked this, you play you could play it forever.
Yeah, so here's the thing. When we first started playing it, I wasn't massively into it, and we took a break for a long
Mm,
time. And then we came back to play it, and I completely forgotten how to play it, and I found it a really frustrating experience. In fact, we started over 3 times until I
mm,
got my head back what I was supposed to back into the game and what I was supposed to do. And then since then, I've been on an upward trajectory,
mm,
and I think now I have finally figured out
mm.
what it is that I could or should or would be doing. Maybe I'm just behind you, or maybe that's it.
Not
But
necessarily.
actually, I do think this is something that I would keep going back to.
Yeah,
And it is a real puzzle to solve, and I think a lot of games do run quite differently. I think depending on your boards, your setup, depending on what characters you pick, but then also you've got the turn order deck from the invaders, so that constantly varies and therefore is constantly a new challenge.
yeah.
Yeah, I think there is quite a lot of replayability in this.
Yeah, no, I think if you enjoy it, the replayability is huge. Like
Mm,
it's definitely there. There's all the structure around the difficulties and scenarios of playing different sort of
hmm
invaders and all that kind of thing. Like there's so much there to enjoy, and there's quite a few spirits in the box. There's a lot of variety for people there that enjoy it. So I think as a shelf life proposition, it's definitely a good one if you like it. Like I think this would be like an evergreen for people that really like it.
I always have to adjust my scores when I've heard what the price is because I never know as much as.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I would probably score it a 7.
Yeah, fine. I have given it a 6. I think the price bothers me more than it bothers you on this one. But I think it's worth saying and worth, you know, making absolutely clear that if this is something you like, the shelf life is huge.
hmm
Like you can go on forever. The expansions apparently add a lot more to it. A lot of people, this is one of those games that often comes up in a what game would you play or not play without the expansions debate. But again, the expansions are also quite expensive. So, it's quite a big money proposition. But if you like it, you like it.
Okay.
Okay. So, yeah, I gave it a 6.
All right, so then on to our final category under our general scoring and fun. Did you have any fun when you played it? Off you go, Adam.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I've got a lot of problems with this one.
Yeah.
And I realise I'm going to say it straight at the start. I know this is a beloved game. And, I'm sorry for anybody who gets annoyed by what I'm about to say, but I'm sure if you love it, what I have to say doesn't matter and shouldn't matter. But if you're on the fence, you're probably going to hear two slightly sort of differing opinions here. And I'll try and articulate as best I can why I don't like Spirit Island. My fundamental problem with it is it feels like the entirety of the game feels like just trying to put out fires. And it feels like you're trying to put out fires with a water pistol. And I don't need every game to be some sort of power fantasy, but I've never felt so deeply ineffectual in a game as this one. I just feel like so much of my time is spent going, oh, well, I can't really do anything useful again. And I find that exceptionally frustrating because I feel like it then just all the tension evaporates. It's just, oh, look, everything's fucked again. Oh, look, everything's now more fucked. Okay, great. I can't do anything about it, but yeah, now it's just more. And I just, that's the cycle of the game for me. And it's not like we've never won. We've won a few times, but I don't.
I would just interject and say that was right when we first started playing. I think we probably got a lot of the rules wrong.
Quite possibly. Who knows? But even then, I didn't feel that satisfied with it. It felt like it was just 9 turns of getting punched in the face, and then we suddenly rallied. And I feel like that's the rhythm that always goes. But I don't enjoy that. Just watching everything burn. I like to be able to feel like I'm doing something or having some sort of effect. And I've tried, I think, all bar one of the spirits
Mhm.
now, multiple times. And not one of them have I ever felt super effective with, or even effective at all. Some of them I felt like I may as well not be there at all. Like, and as you touched on in the complexity bit about the luck of the draw with the card draws, I tend to find that a lot of the powers seem to be antithetical when you're going for your innates, and you're then left with the power that doesn't really do much.
I think what's really frustrating is when you go to get a major power,
Mm.
which is a big deal because you obviously have to thin your deck out, you have to trash something, and then you get four loads of cards that just do not work at all.
But I just find there's so many cards that just don't work. That I think that's my problem. There's so many cards that just don't seem to do anything that warrants using them.
Mhm.
And I honestly just not seeing the big picture, whatever. But it sends my brain into a spiral of frustration. I'm like, I'm out. I don't want to do this.
I mean, all the major powers do have big effects,
Mm,
and they are all really powerful. It's that synchronicity
mm,
that I think I sometimes struggle with, and adds to that feeling of I'm not being as effectual as I could be. It's interesting. That's why I queried you when you said, people will min max this and they'll find out the optimal strategy," because I'm not sure that I'm at that point where I know the cards or the deck or anything well enough to be able to do that. But I also imagine people that are into this, as I could imagine me being, would be very much
yeah,
wanting to min max it, and that's probably, yeah,
yeah.
you know.
But I think for me, I feel like that's the only way to play
Mm,
if you want to get anywhere with it.
mm,
And it's just not really what I derive enjoyment out of in
mm.
board games. Like I am the opposite of a min maxer. I don't enjoy that kind of thing. I don't enjoy sort of poring over it and going, oh, every single turn has to be optimal and everything must go this way. And it's antithetical to fun, which is this category for me.
Yeah, so I mean, one of the things that I really like about it is that I very much like being able to control board state.
Hmm.
Always have done. Um, and I think that it allows me to do that.
Yeah.
So I might not be able to do huge amounts of damage. I might not be able to necessarily resolve the tidal wave of colonialists that are coming onto the land, but I am able to control pockets,
Mm.
and that's why I quite get a kick out of it, I think.
Sure.
Um, and I do enjoy that. And you're absolutely right. Like, it feels like you're losing, and you're losing really badly until suddenly you're not. And
Or
that's
you skip losing
usually,
really badly. In
well,
most
and
cases.
that's usually because you start progressing with your fear deck, and
Mm.
your fear deck, every time you turn over a fear card, it gives you quite a powerful effect, but also it then becomes easier to win.
Mm. Yeah.
Um, so actually, as you then start building that fear engine, that's when things start becoming really quite powerful.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, fine. Fundamentally, for me, I don't enjoy the gameplay loop enough to ever warrant putting the time into this that it so desperately requires for you
Mm-hmm,
to get anywhere with it.
mm-hmm,
I think that's the fundamental thing with me. I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy the core game.
mm-hmm.
Um, Mainly because of that general feeling of ineffectualism. I just don't get on with it at all. I find it more frustrating than enjoyable. If I'm not having fun, why would I play something?
Yeah, it's funny because I think the first three turns, or the first three rounds, should I say, I often feel I am not having fun in those first three rounds. It just feels like this mad
Yeah,
scramble.
which is normal in the game, I think. But
No, but I find this really, really difficult.
yeah,
And then I begin to start getting into a bit of a groove, and I begin to start working towards something. But I think by that point, you're out.
I think what I found is once you get past that, start to get a little bit of a groove going, but then it comes back 10 times worse. And
Mm.
then it's just back to the start again, but worse for me. And it's the same issues I have in the first three rounds, sort of come back again around like 8, 9, and 10, but worse. And then you've got all these cards. You spent all this time trying to build your spirit up, and you're still completely ineffectual.
Hmm.
It's at that point that I'm like, I'm out. This is annoying me as opposed to being a fun experience.
Okay.
And it's not about frustration around losing. I will quite happily.
No, it's not. You're a very
I'm
good
a very
loser.
good loser, and I'm a good co-op loser. I mean, the
Yeah.
amount of time that we bashed our head against the walls and things like Marvel Champions stuff like that. But I'm having fun, so I don't mind too much. Like, oh dang, we lost again, but it doesn't bother me. This bothers me with a capital
Mhm.
B, and it's not a difficulty thing. Outside the board game space, I'm a FromSoft enjoyer, Dark Souls, etc. I like hard things. I like bashing my head against something, but I can feel myself getting better, and I'm enjoying the gameplay loop, and I'm enjoying the actual act of playing, and I don't in this.
So here's the things that I like about actually playing this
Yeah.
that I think is where we differ.
Mm.
So I called it 3D chess earlier, and I like that.
Hmm.
I don't think I get the opportunity to play it that much because I'm playing with you. Oh, sorry. But I like the
It's just
idea.
actually throwing darts at the board. Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah, and that I
Yeah.
think
No,
that
I
is
know.
kind of what
Yeah.
you're doing, and that's how you play, and that's fine. But I really like the idea that you need to start setting things up two
Mm.
turns in advance to be able to deal with the Ravagers. You can't be dealing with the Ravagers as they're happening. You
No,
should have
you know.
dealt with that
Yeah.
2 turns ago,
Yeah.
or had a path to that. And I love that, and so I love the interaction between slow powers and fast powers, etc. And I just think that's the depth that people love, and that's the
Yeah.
depth that I feel like I could love if you gave me a chance to play it.
Just if you had a better
If
husband.
I had a better, where's Henry Cavill when you need him? I mean, that's the constant refrain, but
Yeah,
I'll
no,
manage.
yeah, sure. No, yeah.
I don't know. Maybe he wouldn't like Spirit Island either. Um,
Let's hope not, eh? Um,
I think if again you're a bit like me, you like to overthink things,
uh,
you like to plan things out 3 turns in advance, then yes,
yeah.
this will scratch that itch for you. And yeah.
And yeah, I mean, this is not me, sister. I'm not even going to cry and sit you and go, this is a shit game. It's rubbish. It's obviously not. But it does not work for me in any
Mhm,
way, shape, or form. And I have very little fun playing it.
mhm.
And I'm really disappointed because I want,
Games, although
yeah,
didn't it?
I wanted to love it, but I can't.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy it, and there's that constant refrain in life: if you're not enjoying something, stop doing it. So I'm just like, no, I'm not playing it.
But we did get to what, like 7 plays?
No, we got a lot more than that.
Oh,
We've got
yeah.
over 10 plays of this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
we did give it
yeah. Yeah, we
good
gave it.
old country mile.
I'm not going to start getting into the idioms and new thing. Yeah, we did give it a really good try. Like I didn't give up, but I am giving up at this point. I'm no,
Okay.
not for me.
So under fun, how much did you score it?
3.
Okay. I gave it a 7.
Okay, there you go. Two differing opinions. Okay, so as ever, we add those up, we average them out, and that gives us an overall general rating of 6, which is probably very low for Spirit Island, but probably due to me having a right old piss and moan about it. If you're more wired like Hannah, it'd be much higher than that.
Right, so let's then talk about our 2-player rating scale. So under the first category, we have table talk
And interactivity.
and interactivity in general.
Yeah, so I think this is, I mean, it's a co-op, so always fairly decent for that. I think there is a fair bit of strategizing to be had, but I think it is one of those games that's very easy for all the players to get in their own heads. And I found this playing with you that we don't talk as much as we probably should because I think we're so focused on trying to do what we're meant to be doing that perhaps we drop the ball on trying to marry things up. I think we've got better as time goes on, but I think there is that you really need to focus, and it's quite a heady affair. So, how much room that leaves for generalized table talk and planning things out
There's
up for
something
debate.
about you need to know what your other player can do and
Mm,
can't do, so that you need to then kind of decide what your objective is for that round
yeah,
and then work out how you're going to get there. And I think when someone's struggling or not having that much fun, that can be quite difficult to do.
Mm.
And I also think, again, you become so focused on what you can do, but that's the point, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons why we've not had a huge amount of success of it, is perhaps we haven't had that
Mm.
working at it as a team together.
Yeah, perhaps. But I think with come under this under scalability, with more people comes more problems in this. It's one of those games that I feel like the difficulty scales with how many players you've
Mm.
got quite effectively. And you could argue that, oh, you're there to sort of fill in the gaps for what the other person's lacking, but I've never quite found that rhythm with it.
Yeah, and so I think that's what's really interesting, because I really like the Earth Golem, which is all about defense, which
Yeah.
kind of suits
Mm.
who my play style. Um, and the idea was that I should be able to kind of hold the fort and defend things while
Mm.
you then bide your time and then do huge amounts of damage.
Mm.
And yet it never really works out that way.
No, it never does.
And I'm not sure whether that's because we've struggled to find the right combination of characters, or whether we've just had bad luck, or
Mm.
that harkens to your point about
Too many fires, no, not effectiveness to put them
yeah.
out. And I think that's the thing. You've got this other person that's there, but it's very difficult because I feel so ineffective. It's
Mm,
difficult to help them out
mm,
when you can't even get your own stuff under control. I think that's also the issue. So again, also feel, and that probably affects the interactivity for me because it all feels a bit hopeless, and I'm just trying desperately to
yep.
fight my own fire. That I don't, you don't naturally go, oh, no, I can help you do that, or
Which goes back to the whole presence argument.
mm,
So presence becomes so important, because actually I can't help you out on your island if I've got no presence over
yeah, yeah,
there. But actually presence becomes really difficult. And you don't necessarily want to spread yourself too thin, because
uh,
then that means that you can't defend yourself. And once you lose a presence,
yeah,
it's gone for good.
yeah, no, which
You
is
know?
very damaging. Yeah,
So yeah, I do think you are constantly talking, and you are
yeah,
constantly interacting with each other and trying to sort of work out what better do. Quite, it's all open handed as well. You don't have
yeah,
to.
yeah.
You
You
can
don't have
be
to
as,
keep as
you can show your
yeah,
cards, and I often do. I'm like, oh, but if
yeah.
I did this and stuff.
Mm,
Um, and I think, if you're going to play it really well, you probably need to start thinking, well, if I did that, and you have to start kind of calculating out
yeah,
how things will play out in order to be able to mitigate that. Um, which I think you need. Yeah, you need lots of communication to be able to do that.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. And it's again, it doesn't, as you say, it sort of lends itself to it. So yeah, I just think there's that trying to focus too much on yourself thing that can impact this bit
Mm.
negatively.
But equally, if you're not having a huge amount of fun, you,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
No, I know, but I've tried to take these all sort of objectively as
yeah,
something that.
yeah. I'm not criticising you particularly. I'm just
Yeah.
saying that
So what?
because it is really complicated, you do get stuck in your own head.
Yes, you do. Yeah. So you end up being a bit more silent than perhaps you
Mm,
should in something like this.
mm.
So how did you score it?
So I gave it a 7.
Yep, I give it a 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. So then on to our cooperative rating, and that includes things like quarterbacking as well, which I think is really interesting with this, because I think it is a complicated game.
I think this is very difficult to quarterback, personally. What do you think?
I could imagine being sat round a table with 4 players and one person orchestrating the whole thing.
They need a big brain in that head of theirs.
I think my brain's big enough.
Oh yeah, yeah. You're going to be that person, yeah.
I think I could be that
All right.
person.
Okay. You go off.
Ah.
Excuse me, listeners. I'm just going to Google local Spirit Island groups because I want to watch this. um,
No, I do think you could have somebody, particularly if you've got people that are more inexperienced with it. I do think that that could be a
mm,
possibility.
I think it's
Telling you how to
a
play your class.
possibility. I think it's a possibility. I think it's less likely than a lot of co-ops
Yeah,
because I
maybe.
think there's just too much mental overhead.
Maybe.
I might be wrong. Maybe people have had some insanely quarterback Spirit Island sessions, but
I don't
I
think it's
don't
going
see
to be
it.
horrendous, but I
Yeah,
do think it's got that possibility.
okay, fair enough. And how do you feel about general like co-op, the co-opability of it?
Right. So we're going to disagree on this. I think the only way that you can win this is if you work together.
Oh no, I fully agree.
And so there's a lot of mechanics. So, for example, pushing and pulling. So you can
Yeah.
push Dahan or explorers, etc. You can pull them towards you as well.
Hmm.
So you then use them to do damage. and generate fear, etc., etc. And the only way you can do that is if you work together
Yeah,
in order to be able to achieve that.
yeah,
I think one of the reasons why we struggle is because we don't do that enough.
yeah, possibly. Yeah. Yeah, I fully agree. I don't disagree with anything you said. I think that you have to be very much working as a team if you want to get anywhere with this. I think, again, it comes back to sort of the fun issues a little bit with me, where one of the things that I enjoy about a cooperative game is talking through a strategy and seeing it get executed effectively. And it comes back to the lack of effectiveness for me. But again, that's a bug. But is that a problem with this cooperability? A little bit for me. But in terms of how well it works as a co-op, fantastically so. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it is. It's very very well designed in
Some
that
of the
sense.
best games that we've had, even
Mm.
though we lost, were where I was able to push and pull, and you had
Oceans, hungry
ocean,
grasp.
so you were just
Yeah,
able to like engulf
scoop
them.
them up.
So I was just
Yeah,
able to like push them towards the coastal regions, and you were just able to scoop
yeah,
them up and get rid of them.
yeah,
And that was fab, and that
yeah.
felt
That was
really
good.
good when that happened.
Yeah, it was really good. Yeah,
Yeah.
the one time it happened. Um, yeah, no, I don't. I rate this strongly on co-opability. It's a really really fine co-op experience in terms of the mechanics and the nuts and bolts. It works very very well. I have my problems with the co-op side of things, but that's more to do with the fun factor than it is with co-op.
Yeah. So what I put is that basically it's really difficult to achieve
Yeah,
that
that synergy where
synergy.
it feels really good, like you execute something
Hmm.
well. Yeah,
And so for that reason, I gave it a six
I
because I
gave it a
think,
six as well.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
difficult to achieve.
similar
Yeah.
similar reason. Yeah, it's difficult to achieve that satisfying payoff to your
Hmm.
tactical planning.
Hmm.
All right.
Okay, so our final category under two player is scalability. So, would it be better with more than two players, or how well does it play at two? I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Is it crying out for more people?
Yes.
Mm, I'm not sure.
Mm,
I'm very on the fence about this one. I think where my concern lies
mm.
is adding another island with stuff going wrong on it. From my experience, I just feel like that would be completely unmanageable.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you. Yeah, it would. But also towards the later game, when you get to be able to play more cards and more powers,
Hmm.
I think that will then become an overwhelming favor inside of
Perhaps, yeah,
for us.
yeah,
And I think again, one of the reasons that cooperability thing isn't well executed at two players is because you need more powers in order to be able to achieve that.
maybe.
You need more people working on short fast powers
Uh,
to deal with like the immediate effects,
mm,
and then you need other people that are looking at 2 or 3 turns in advance in order to be able to set the board state up.
yeah,
I think that this would sing with 4 players,
yeah, maybe you're
although
right.
it would be an absolute fucking clusterfuck to begin with.
Yeah,
It would just be
yeah,
like you're feeling like you're drowning. I think come about turn 4, 5, you'd really begin to hit your stride.
yeah. Perhaps you're right. And I think it might be. I think the thing that stuck out for me is what you just said about having more different spirits around the table.
Hmm.
um, because perhaps then you'll have a much better spread of being able to plug the gaps in each other's games.
Yeah.
Because I did originally just sort of put this right down the middle. Like I was like, yeah, it might be great, it might not be, but I think that's the thing that gets me. That perhaps with that greater variety, you might have a better time.
And then you would think about your short term goal and
Mm,
your longer term goal. And actually, it's not that the same people can always do the longer term goals. It would be about, well, who's the best fit for that in that
yeah,
situation. And I think it's that it's that 3D chess thing, isn't it? It's you have more people around the table to solve that problem.
mhm.
So it allows you to think about it in different ways.
Yeah, yeah, perhaps, yeah.
Or solve it in different ways, should I say.
Yeah, no, very, very good point. Very well made.
So basically, I want to get rid of you and I want to play with a whole bunch of other guys.
Again, I'll just look for Spirit Island groups and hot Spirit Island groups in your local area. Okay, so how did you score it then? Let's go.
So 2.
Okay, yeah, strong. I went for 4. So that gives us an overall two-player rating of 5. I think we're all pretty much down the middle, and then you obviously you desperately want more players for this.
Mm-hmm. Or
Yeah,
just a player that isn't you.
yeah, I'll just a player that's not me. Put an advert out there, that's fine. Okay, so yeah, that was a biggie. I'm
Bit
just
brutal.
I'm disappointed that I didn't like it as much as I did. I'm disappointed in it, honestly. Like I thought I would like it a lot more, but I think I'm probably an outlier. I think I'm probably a loud voice on the outside on this one, and that's fine. Thank you for joining us, and until next time, have fun, be good to each other, play lots of board games.